Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines. And here we are, just watching the trains flowing round our brand new, massive, double Y train interchange here. And it is quite a delight to watch, actually. No trains are getting in each other's way for the first time ever in Auridon. So we haven't got any backup of trains across the whole map, which is just fantastic to see. So it has appeared to work like a charm, at least for now. The trains pause and wait to let each other go. It's all very polite, but there are occasional little backups as they wait, but no actual major train traffic here because they're not crossing over each other and blocking each other anymore. So that was the main thing we wanted to avoid with this whole junction. And if we do just float away to the edge of the map as well, where we put in the additional junctions to stop trains getting in their way right at the start of the map, you can see here as well that it's working really nicely. We've got no backup of trains at all at the edge of the map. People are waiting there to get onto the passenger lines, and then it's going off on its merry way down the passenger train track there. And I hope you enjoyed the episode. It was something a little bit different compared to my usual builds. Although I say it was less of the building, it was quite a lot of building this junction. It took quite a lot of time as well, but I think it all came together in the end. But for today, we are actually turning our attention back over to the downtown. And if we fly on over there, we are going to be doing a residential expansion today, specifically looking at this little peninsula on the end here. So first things first, what I want to do is look at expanding the road network. And there's a few considerations that we want to do in this area. So I definitely want to bring trams down here. We've got a nice little tram interchange next to our main transport centre here, where we're only utilising one tram line at the moment. So I'd like to bring that tram line all the way down onto this peninsula and back again. And we also actually have a metro station here in the Blunderdome by Marmite Park, which I do want to extend on down into the peninsula as well. And of course we want to redo a lot of this high density housing. And some of the inspiration that I've been looking at for this is actually Miami, having a little look at different ways to bring water inland with little docks and private boat piers for different residents here. So that's what we'll be looking at bringing in today. So to start off with, let's just lay out our main road network. So for the time being, I'm just going to grab the same road as this one and we'll bring it out straight just a little bit further here. And then what we'll do is curve it around this bay and really use the shape of this land to form how this road network is going to sit. So I'd like a piece of relatively straight road over front here, and we can move it to form this how we'd like later on. But for now, I'll just bring it out like this and then back up to join the main road in a relatively smooth curve there. And then similarly this side, we'll just bend this round following that landscape. Tiny little bit of straight road here. And then we'll continue to bend this on round to meet this other road. So using the freeform tool, we can get some nice smooth connections in there. So let's just grab our terraforming tools while we're at it here as well. And we'll grab the level terrain tool. We'll just increase the brush size a little bit with the extra landscaping tools. And then what I'm going to do is just terraform out a relatively flat area at the front here that we can then work with. Now this road is a little bit lumpy bumpy here as well, so let's just make sure that these nodes are all coming in at the same heights and we haven't got those lumps and bumps in it. So we'll just grab all of those, and actually in the interest of saving nodes, we can use multi-network tool to delete a couple of these out. I don't think we need that one, I don't think we need that one, and then we can just space them a little bit better. Again, using Move It, holding Alt, it snaps it into really nice straight lines and smooth curves for us. Now I am just going to clear out some of these houses so that we can do this section how we'd like to do it. We'll just delete these ones here, and all the homeless people are now rushing out. Sorry everybody. And then firstly what we are going to do is level out a section of very flat land, very low to the water. So what I want in here is some low density residential with some private piers, private boats going onto the water. So we are just going to pull this back, make the brush size a little bit bigger now and further away from the water. We'll leave a little bit of space next to the road for some development up against the main road there, but we will just smooth out quite a reasonably large plateau area in which we can build on here. We will tidy up this terrain when we come through to do this area in just a second, but for now we'll just lay out the road network for it, and that will help us to terraform around that. So I'm going to grab actually the suburban road for this. This is going to be low density residential after all, so I think that that makes sense for this area. And let's just bring that out like so. And then what I'm going to do is create little inland bits, which we can then plot houses over. So I'm going to leave a space of 4 tiles in between, and we'll have 3 sections, I think, just like that. So let's just trim off this bit of road here, and then what we can do is bring this one up along the coast, trying to keep it relatively smooth actually up to this connection here. So what I will do for now actually is just level this one down to the same height as this section, and then from here let's actually just delete out this road for now, and we'll re-put that in. We'll have a nice straight connection coming out there, and we'll use the freeform tool to give ourselves a really nice smooth curve to join these two up, like so. And then we can use network multi-tool with the slope function just to give ourselves a really nice smooth slope up to the top there. Now some of these nodes look to be a little bit off, so let's just use move it to adjust it. There we go. So we have got a nice smooth slope now. And then down on the other side, what I'd like to do is bring out some waterfront residential properties. I think we will grab the suburban road again for this, and let's just bring ourselves out a nice smooth road down to the front of the water, and then we'll continue that on in a rough-ish straight line, just like so. And then what I do want to do here is grab all these nodes along this front section and just lower them down so that they are right at the water's edge. So we haven't got a big height difference between this road and the edge of the water. So roughly-ish like that, but let's just make sure again that they are all the same height. So I think like that will do nicely. And again here, we obviously want to make sure that this slope is a little bit smoother. So let's use slope function there, and then we can just tidy that up with move it to make sure that that slope is super smooth and the curve is flowing correctly. So that will do for that section. And then I'd like to do something slightly different over this side. So what I'd like to do is bring out a almost fronted road using the road guidelines of the main road here. So we'll snap into those and bring a road all the way along. I think we need to be slightly further away. We'll leave a 2 tile gap for this. And then we will again curve this up and joining up to this main road here. Now I'm not too worried about having these junctions all together because these are cul-de-sacs at the end of the day, so the traffic shouldn't be too bad on them. Let's actually just remove that connection for a moment because I've just remembered what I did want to do here. And what I would like to do is actually lower these down to the same height as the road this side. And then what we can do in front of it is use terraforming tools just to level out that terrain down to the water's edge. Because what I'd like here is slightly different to this side, where we'll put the properties on this side of the road. If we just terraform that out ever so slightly, we'll then put these back to the water this way, just to give ourselves a little bit of differentiation between these two areas. And then here, what we are going to do is bring out a really kind of tight swooping curve down to this section. So this is going to look absolutely terrible to start off with until we've used move it to sort it all out here. But bear with and we will get there. Here we haven't got a particularly smooth connection, so I'm actually just going to delete that node, which I don't think that we need there. And then we'll just use move it to make sure that this flows properly down the slope there, which, yeah, that looks a little bit better, I think. And then on this end, I'd just like a very small 1 unit road actually that we can utilise for some of the services that we'll need down this end of the city. So I'm just going to bring out a very, very basic road, just curving it again, using the landscape that we've got here and curving it round the bend there. And that's where we can drop some services on that cul-de-sac there. Now that we have our road network in place, what I'd like to do now is start to add in some of the high density residential assets. So I will actually go ahead and do this in a time lapse and be right back. Okay, so there we go. So I've tried to put in a few different layers of heights. We've got a couple of the taller buildings right up this end, right on this peninsula. Again, some detailing is really going to bring this together to make these cliffs look slightly less odd and these buildings fit in a little bit better. We have some Green Cities assets down by the waterfront here, just repeated, moved up close to each other with Move It. Some really nice little roof terraces on these assets and little balconies out the front, which I think makes them perfect for waterfront residential, just like that. And we have tiered some up the slope here as well, which I think these buildings next to each other, and again here, gives a really nice effect as we go up and down these rather steep hills down to the waterfront there. Just use some of the basic vanilla high density residential assets here. We've got some of these garages on the front, so we'll need to be wary of that when we come to the detail and time lapse. Again, a few different layers of height going on. And then done a little bit of building merging here with two of these slightly smaller, sort of medium density, high density buildings and two of these tower blocks here. They've got very similar colourings, these two sets of buildings, so I thought this worked quite nicely in merging them to make one slightly larger building. And they go together reasonably well there, I think. And then down here, I have actually left in a lot of these high density residentials. I think that we can detail around them to make them fit a little bit better. And as we flow up towards the downtown, it will start to make a bit more sense as well with the density there. And then I have just done a little bit more building merging with these two assets here, again, to create a slightly more interesting shaped residential block there. Again, I think they go together quite well. They're both super modern, lots of glass, that sort of thing. So I think that they can be combined like that and it looks all right. And then it just gives us a slightly more interesting effect to the skyline that we're creating on this peninsula. So for example, a couple of these buildings are at slightly off angles. Obviously we go around the curve here, so things flow, I think, quite nicely from that respect. And then just a little peak in height at the end, I think, was needed. So that'll be all of the high density residential assets. So now I do want to turn my attention to this little area here where we'll be putting in some low density Green Cities residential assets. So to start off with here, what I do want to do is just do a tiny bit of terraforming. I'm going to grab the level terrain tool. I'm actually just going to bring down the brush strength ever so slightly here and we'll get a reasonably small brush size on. And what I'm going to do is at a reasonably low water level, right click to get the height there and then just bring in a little slip all the way in like that, and actually we will just level it out slightly at the end there. And we'll just do exactly the same, so to exactly the same level in each one of these as well, and let that water flow in. Now the edges of it are going to be super rough until we get our assets in and smooth this all out. So you have to kind of, again, bear with this section of the build because it will all come together eventually. So then the assets that I would like to put in here are some of the Green Cities residential. Now, some of these work really nicely on a waterfront. So I place this in here. So we have got hedges at the back. We've got a nice swimming pool there. But when I go to grab our pier asset, which is this one here, let's just place that in. It likes to snap to the terrain there, but we can use Move It to spin this around and put this in nice and close next to this house. And what happens here when we do that is that the ground terraforms away next to it and we're left with this really nice kind of concrete cliff there. So if I just move that up slightly close to the house and bring this down a little bit further, you'll see what we get is we end up getting essentially a pier which looks like it is pretty much attached to this house here. But that is exactly the aesthetic that I am after here. So let's just grab both of these. We're going to get a little bit of flooding as the water comes in. We'll just move these all right up to the end of this cul-de-sac here. Now the land is going to push out the end, so we'll need to actually do a little bit of rock detailing, I think, there to overcome that. Can move the pier up ever so slightly, yeah, which should help. We'll get a really low water level right at the edge there, but it should, once everything settles down, start to fill in nicely. So then what we want to do is start to look for more of these Green City residential assets which can back onto water like this. So not everyone does it. I think this asset here, yeah, because it's got that bench and the picnic yard, would have to bob off so many of the props in order to fit this in nicely. So that one doesn't work. But there is another one, this one, which works really nicely. So those hedges do go underwater, so we can't actually see them, which works quite nicely from this aesthetic. So we can just put this pier out in front and they will essentially disappear underground. So we don't have to bob them off and then ruin any of these other assets we've got elsewhere in the city. The Auridon is full of these green city assets. So I definitely don't want to be changing these up so much that we're losing some of those nice props that come with the buildings that we've got in that area. So yeah, there we go. So we've got a nice boardwalk right outside the back of their houses. So what I will do is just continue this pattern on round all three of these little inland bits here. And there we go. So we've got our little low density green cities residential neighbourhood, and there is lots of detailing to bring in here with rocks and foliage and shrubbery and things like that all around the front of the water. But all in all, I think it's come together quite nicely. So we just have this big boat here running all in front of these houses here. Again, we'll need to do some detailing around the houses at the end just to make them make sense. And I think we'll probably bring out some cul-de-sacs with node controller on the end of these as well. But I think that has all come in quite nicely. So in terms of just a little bit of extra detailing for this area, what I will do, and I'll do more of it in the detail and time lapse itself, but what we do want to do is bring boats out into here. So some of the same boat assets we used in Carina Marina we'll be utilising in here as well. So definitely some of these speedboat assets, some smaller boats as well, potentially some brown ones. We'll definitely get a load of different type of boats in here, and we'll arrange them so that they're all moored up against the houses. So it looks like they are personal boats for the residents that live here. They've kind of got their own little personal waterfront marina. And again, this was inspired by looking at some of the waterfronts around Miami with these little inlands and their own personal little piers running down to the water just like this. So yeah, that's the inspiration we've used here, but turning it into an area for Auridon in a very different climate, I would add too. So yeah, I'll come out and do more of this in the detail and time lapse and flesh this all out with lots of boats. And some of the houses are occasionally flooding, but the flood warnings go away pretty quickly, so I think we are okay, in the main part at least. Okay, so next I want to add in a couple of pedestrian access paths, because otherwise people that live down here have got to walk all the way along this road and up to get out of this area. And we're going to have some public transit running along this road, so we definitely want to give them some access to it. So I'm thinking, for now, I'll probably just use the normal park life path for this. Let's just turn off snapping just for a second. I'm going to bring out a path like that, and then we'll change it to a raised segment to bring it down the slope. So it kind of nicely forms into the side of the little cliff here. And again, lots of detailing needed here, rocks, foliage, that sort of thing to cover up some of this nastiness. I mean, I don't mind this rock texture in this theme, but I think it could be better. So we'll just centralise that path just a little bit better. And let's definitely make sure that that is sitting nicely on the ground here. We've got a nice smooth connection there, and I think that that is absolutely fine. I'll add in a couple more points. I think we'll have one over here as well. So we need to make sure that that is on the ground, which it is actually. That's worked out okay. And it's a fairly steep slope up there, but I think we can get away with it. I think that will do nicely. And then we will have one more coming up this side as well. Again, just to give people the access that they need. So we'll bring that out onto the main road in between these condos here. There we go, lots more road access points as we have another little flood flowing into the area here. These houses are going to continuously flood and then disappear, although they're not abandoning, they're only flooding momentarily and then it's going away. Maybe that's actually true to life. Well, there's a fairly large flood now happening over here, but we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes. I might have to raise this all up just a little tiny bit just to avoid that flooding. So just before we come on to this little area over here, I would like to hook in the public transport networks. So just to start off with, I'm going to look at the metro lines. Now, the metro comes down to the Blunderdome by Marmite right here, but I would like to extend that on down and round. And I'm thinking, actually, even though it is very large, I am going to try and squeeze in this metro station here. So I think we can get it in on this corner this way. We're going to have to do a little bit of move it to make this nice, and probably a bit more terraforming as well to get this terrain nice and level here. So let's just make sure that it is the height of this junction. And we will actually raise this node back up as well. So we've got a nice smooth plateau to work with. And then we can re-slope these to give ourselves a little bit more breathing room there. That now needs to come up to this level to make sure that pedestrians can actually walk over the massive mound that was there. Now it isn't quite straight to the road. So let's just adjust this a little bit to get this nicely aligned with the edge of the road, which I think it is there. Yeah, I think we can get away with this here. We'll have to do a little bit of terraforming down this side, but you'll see when we come on to do this section that that will be absolutely fine. We're going to have some large gardens behind a rather large asset. So I think we can cover that up with a bit of detailing there, but I think overall that works. So let's go back to our metro lines and hook this one in. So we will just very, very simply, let's turn snapping on so we get some nice angles for this. Make sure we're not forcing it to ground, so it's going to ruin all of our nice buildings. And then we will just smoothly loop it in to this station, just like that. And then if we grab the line, I'll grab this end stop, move it down to our new station, and then add in additional stops here so that the passengers can continue to stop at the Blunderdome by Marmite on their way back. So that now gives us metro access down to this end. And then as a bit of a interim stopping service, so we do have the bus that is coming in and round the Blunderdome here, but I think I would like to also add in trams into a loop here, because we've got this tram exchange right here that we can utilise. We're only utilising one stop on it, so we can definitely utilise the other side to bring in some more trams down this way. And we will, of course, have trams running down into the Canal District as well. So now just thinking about how I've set this up, I'm pretty sure I've set this up actually incorrectly when I did the downtown. So I think the trams from this side, yeah, this is a one-way road here, which brings them out this way. So what we do need to do is grab this road and extend in an alternative route to bring the trams back into this main hub. So I think if we just upgrade this road around here, and we're keeping in the bike lanes there, so we've still got the bike lanes for people as necessary. And yeah, we'll just bring that back in there. We may need to move some of these little planters over. Are they attached to this building? They are not. So yeah, let's just grab these planters. I think people are going to walk through them there. And we'll just push them back ever so slightly to give a little bit more breathing room next to the pavement there. Yeah, so we're still keeping our bike network in there, which is super duper important. Keeping those citizens moving around without too much reliance on public transport or cars. And now we should be able to put in our tram line. So again, let's grab this nice tram road with the bike lanes. Although we don't have bike lanes actually running down this way, but I think it would be nice to incorporate them. Again, it just gives citizens another option for how to get around. So we'll upgrade all of this road here, and I'm going to see, yeah, straight away that we're going to have to move these buildings back as well. So just a little bit of adjustment is going to be needed as we put in these slightly wider roads here. We'll just drag those back a tiny bit. Let's grab our tram road again and continue upgrading. Okay, so we have got our tram roads in all the way down. I've actually converted it to the other one with slightly wider pavement where we don't have the bike lanes and the grass strip on these roads. I think it just looks a little bit more official coming around the corner here, and I don't think we necessarily need to extend the bike network all the way down this way. There's not going to be a huge amount of buildings here. And people can also cycle on the pavement in Auridon, so I haven't restricted that, so it should be absolutely fine from that point of view. Okay, so then to set up the tram route, let's start off at the main downtown tram hub here, or the main transport hub in fact. We've got metro, we've got monorail, we've got trains and trams all converging into the same place here. So let's start off at the tram hub, and then what we will do is bring it all the way around this way. Now, because this is a really main road, I'm not going to stop on it here. This is the kind of main through road that actually runs all the way through Auridon, essentially. It continues on around this way, so we'll leave that. But we will bring in a stop, I think, down the back of the train hub here, just to give a few more options. And then we will stop again right about here, so that people can get down onto the quays and get down into the Blunderdome ugly waterfront area. We'll have another little stop up here so that people from this residential neighbourhood can easily get out and onto the trams this side. And there's also a bus right there as well, so that gives them a few different options for transferring between different transport options. Again, we'll stop here so that we've got a nice stop near these residential neighbourhoods here, and also this path comes up nicely to feed into that tram stop. Would make sense to have one by the metro, so let's do that there. They're a little bit close, those two stops, but I think it's absolutely fine. And then we'll have one down by the waterfront here, and then we will loop it back round, stopping at all the same stops that we did before, and finally bringing it back into the transport hub. So now, in the interest of keeping everything tidy, let's go to our tram lines. Let's change the colour of this one, and let's go for a nice yellow. I don't think we've got that on the tram lines yet. No. And we will call this Peninsula line because we don't have a name for this area yet. So if you have got any suggestions for what we can call this nice little peninsula here, then please do drop them in the comments and let me know, and we'll give it a name next time. And we have already got people actually flooding out of this metro station, which is really nice to see. Yeah, 159 people using it at the moment. So yeah, that's looking good. People waiting on the platform. So clearly that is being utilised there. And yeah, we can see people walking up and down these walking paths as well. So clearly they're in good positions to help people get around. So coming on to the big kind of focal point of the end of this peninsula here, the asset that I would like to use is actually one from the Japanese content creator pack, which is the resort hotel, one that we haven't used yet. So I am just going to place that in nice and centrally on this road here. So I have a nice view looking out over the water, right out into the ocean actually of Auridon, or the edge of the map there. A few little islands as well to look at. So now, because of this car park, what I do want to do is make sure that this makes sense. I don't want to bob off all these spaces. I think it looks quite nice on this asset like this. But if we just drag it back just a tiny bit, what we then can do is use our concrete roads, as we like to use in Auridon quite a lot. And we'll just bring in a connection road from there and one from this side as well. Let's make sure we are snapping to nodes that we already have there. And we'll of course make sure that that is actually the same height as the main road. And then we'll use the connector segment just to join those up. So that gives road access to the resort hotel, but then also gives us this nice smooth concrete look, which matches the car park that we have within it. So I think it just makes a little bit more sense to do it like that. So yeah, quite happy with that. Again, some detailing needed out the front here. But in terms of public transport as well, I think one thing we definitely do want to incorporate, because this is a resort hotel, is some taxi stands. I would actually like them facing onto this concrete road. So let's just plop in 2 of those, and we will then spin them around 180, and we'll just move them in ever so slightly closer. So around the resort hotel, we need to put in an awful lot of detailing. And one thing that I would really like to do is actually use these new assets I found on the workshop, which is this Palm Beach pool pack. So there's 14 different pools here. We get some nice interesting shapes with them. They look fantastic. So yeah, I think we can do some interesting pool work with these. Yeah, so I think what I will do is actually take the ones with these tiles on them. I think we will delete out all of the rest of these for the moment. And we'll take these 3 as kind of the main design. And so what I want is kind of different sort of pool areas for them. We can do some nice tiling work in between these as well. But like, let's say that this is the kiddies pool. We could always try and put some slides or some play equipment around that as well. Got a slightly more adult pool here. Maybe this is a little kind of plunge pool, hot tub type pool. I think we can feed in the circular one as well. But let's just dot these around. I think I will move these ones right up next to each other here. Let's just spin that round. I think the orientation of that looks a little bit better. Let's just move this slightly further away from the hotel actually as well. So we've got more space for some little bars, parasols, deck chairs, that sort of thing. We'll leave that one at the end there. And then maybe let's have a secluded little round kind of hot tub type pool. Let's do that at this end here. I think that will work quite nicely. So let's grab some hedges, because firstly our guests at our hotel will definitely want some kind of privacy. So I think we'll use these hedges actually, which are reasonably tall, but they'll give a nice level of privacy for the people at the hotel. So I think that's really what we want there. We don't want anything too short so that people can still see over. So let's just bring that in like that. And we'll take off linear fence fill for this so that we can get a nice, even, smoothish pattern with these straight props around this curved road here, which is not always the easiest thing to do. We'll bring that in like that. Well, that gives us a nice smooth edge if we do it that way. And then let's just draw this across to there. And then we can come all the way back down and join this up, hopefully. So let's just bring that across. We do need an entrance into it. So I think we will leave that at the back of the hotel here. We'll just leave a small little pathway in there. This is going to be an absolutely massive pool complex. And then what we want to do is get our tiles in. So I'm feeling like the normal yard tiles are probably going to be the best thing that sort of goes with these ones. And let's bring in a really large tiled space around these pools. Okay, so I think that will do nicely for this area. We need to bring in an awful lot of detailing with it. So most of this we will do in the detailing time lapse. But what I would really like is a lot of kind of flower bed, nice natural detailing around these edges here. So big flowers such as these, probably some rhododendrons, that sort of thing going in there. And then I am actually, and I know that this is not the flora of the Auridon biome, as it were, but I think we will have some palm trees down here. As this is a resort hotel, they could have imported these from another climate. And I mean, I live in the UK and it's not a tropical climate, and people definitely have planted palm trees in various different locations. So I think we can get away with it. But I think what we will do is have some nice shady palms around this pool area. Make people think that they're not in Auridon and they are actually at Palm Beach. That's the sort of thing that we want to go for around this pool. And then, of course, we'll bring in lots of different deck chairs. We'll probably use the nice luxury ones, I think, for this. Use a little bit of prop line tool. And, of course, we need to angle those. We'll bring in lots and lots of deck chairs like this. Some parasols. That type of thing as well. So we'll add some shade. Some of these lovely guests. Not everyone gets shade, just a couple of them. Something like that, but we'll bring in lots of that all around the pool. I'll probably bring in some more curb planters in various different places around the pool so that we've got a few more palm trees adding a bit of shade, or a few more trees adding some shade of various different places. I'll try and add a little bar in one end as well, but we'll come on and fill in the rest of that in the detailing time lapse. But that is the type of thing that we want to go for this big hotel yard here. And of course we do want people also walking into our swimming pool area, so let's bring out the path down here as well. And we are just going to have to do a little bit of finagling there to get this into place. And I'm actually going to use the invisible path just to run people around this pool area. So we'll just bring out some interesting designs here. And I'll probably add in a gazebo or such like. In fact, let's do that. Let's add in a gazebo here so that we can get people actually walking through the pool area. So let's spin this one around. And I think if we make this into a park district around the resort hotel as well, which we will actually want because I'm going to want some park life assets on the beach too. So let's go ahead and fill in that whole area. And let's just tidy it up as well so it's nice and smooth around all of those roads there. And of course it will say that we do want a main gate as well. So let's give ourselves an invisible main gate. And we could actually, yeah, I think we will do it from this end here. So let's just find the piece of path that we had here. There we go. And we want the end node of it. Let's just draw that back a little bit. And then we'll find our invisible path entrances, the gravel main entrance, that's what we'll want here. And we can plot this up against this road like so. Okay, so that's now sorted. So we've got our main entrance in there. People can walk through and up the side. We're not going to use this as a way of making money, so I'm not going to worry about putting in the other entrances for it. So we will just leave it like that for now, but then people can walk through to that gazebo. Now in terms of the rest of the area, what I would like to do is add in just a very small amount of commercial up here, and we're actually just going to go for low density commercial, but focusing on some of the assets which look a little bit more sort of restauranty and that type of thing. So we can definitely have a pennies here. Let's just plop a few in and then we can arrange them nicely. Yeah, I think these are the type of assets that we want in here. So let's just go ahead and arrange them. And I'm absolutely fine to have the ice cream parlour right outside the hotel there. I think that looks pretty cool. We could also have the market here. And again, just a little bit of detailing needed here to make that make sense. A bit of surface painter. Probably a little bench or planter or something in the middle there. And then let's have a little look at these other assets. So I'm feeling like the petrol station maybe come in behind the market here. We can get that quite nice and up close, although the terrain here is going to be a slight problem for that one. So let's leave that and get a narrow asset in here. Narrow assets tend to work well when you're working uphill because there's less of a noticeable degree of difference in the height between one side of the asset to the other. So they definitely tend to work a little bit better when you're on terrain like that. I think we can bring in this other narrow one here. Let's just move those ones over. This one could go in nicely next to this. It's a little bit of a step up. Leave a little bit more breathing room there as it's got those nice awnings on that side. I think then we could probably put the garage on this corner. Oh, it's still very, very lumpy there. So in fact, I think that is just going to have to go up to the top of the hill here. Do we squeeze in a Sally's? Yeah, so this point is going to be a little bit troublesome because it is very slopey there. So we may need to do some different type of detailing just to get in some nice assets to there. And let's move these ones up for now. Perhaps pancakes could go there. That's reasonably narrow. I think we might actually drop the big bite, you know. As much as I love big bite, I don't think it's going to work here. I think a petrol station though is appropriate for tourists. So we will leave that one in. And let's just make sure that it is level with this node here. And that should get rid of, yeah, a lot of that ground tearing. So that's a good move. Pancakes right on the corner next to the garage. I think that works okay. It's a little bit slopey. Let's just bring that up. Make sure that's level. It's a little bit bumpy out the front there, but I think we can get away with that. And then, yeah, let's delete out our big bite. So a bit of detailing needed here just to tidy up that shop front. And then I think up here as well, we'll just have a little look at some of the leisure buildings. Maybe a couple of little bars I think would be nice up this side. A salon. We could do a salon. Captain's Saloon. And I think if we look at tourist assets as well, it's a good point for a seafood grill. And also, I think a souvenir shop right up next to the metro station would work well here. And again, because these assets are all relatively narrow, they work all right up a slope. Like there's not too much noticeable difference in the degree of height there. So I think that they will be fine. But let's just very quickly check noise pollution because they will be super noisy. So some of these low density houses here may have a few issues with us, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Okay, so when we come to detailing time lapse, there is going to be a lot more detailing needed here for the grounds of the hotel, around the back here in particular, and also the beach out the front. I'll probably add in a couple of piers, definitely lots of deck chairs and probably some canoes and that sort of thing to decorate out the beachfront here to make it feel like a touristy beachfront. Okay, so final thing that I want to do is to add in some services to this area because we have absolutely none in this entire peninsula. So I did leave this little road here that we could add some services along, so I will go ahead and do that. Now, we want to really have all services in here, but there is not much room on this little peninsula, so let's see what we can fit in. So to start off with, we'll just have a small firehouse and I think a small police station. So let's just see if we can wrangle them in a little bit. And we're not going to have huge amounts of room for detailing in here, but that will be okay, I think, for this little area. I might need to adjust this road just up ever so slightly so that we've got a little bit more room. And then if we do that, we can actually add in a little forecourt for some police cars and the such like in this area here. Now, we do also want medical and death care in this area as well. But I'm thinking actually what we will do, because we need schools too, is bring them out into their own little kind of campus area around the beach here. So let's just grab our suburban road again and we'll bring out another connection. We'll turn snapping on so we get a nice smooth connection here. Bring out another connection down the back of these houses here. So I think if we bring it down this way, we can actually transfer this into a parking lot road there. Then what we can do at the end here is add in just a small medical clinic and a death care. So let's use Move It to get these in up against this parking lot road here. So let's make sure that these are all brought up to a nice level height here. We can move that up right close to the medical clinic. I think is acceptable there. And I think what I will do here is actually just draw this out slightly further. So we've got a little bit more room to play with there. And then what we can do is grab another parking lot road, and we'll just have the 16-metre parking lot with the parking spaces on one side. And I'm actually going to draw in a parking lot behind these residential houses here. Again, this just helps to add in a little bit of detailing for these houses. So they've got some parking lots for the residents here. And of course, we are in desperate need of parking around the downtown as well. So I think that will make sense. And then we can just draw in a rough connection down to the road there. So it's quite a steep slope up to that parking lot, but I think that that is acceptable. We've just dropped in the car parking spaces and actually added in another connection to this collector up here, but let's just use Traffic Manager, get rid of those traffic lights and give them dedicated turning lanes. And we'll also tell these guys to give way there as well. So the final thing we want in this area are schools. Now I'm thinking I will use the Green Cities assets for this. So the Institute of Creative Arts will fit quite nicely here, and then also the community school. Now, in terms of orientation, I know I do like to put sports fields out next to my high schools. So I think what we will do is just line this up to this node here. I'm kind of okay with it being on this suburban road and not really doing anything else with it. I think that that's acceptable here. But then when we have a look at the parks, we could just about fit in a football field here. If we just move this up ever so slightly, we're going to need some detailing to tidy up the back of this. If we just move that up to this corner here, I think that that works quite nicely up next to the school. And then we could also have in some other smaller sports fields over this other side. So we'll have a basketball, a tennis. In fact, let's have 2 tennis and a basketball over here. And what we can do to get access to that is actually just add in a little gravel road, I think. Or we could, no, in fact, I am going to default to the concrete pavement road that we've been using. So we'll use that, and then we will spin these round. And then lots of detailing needed in around here to tidy that up. And with this as well, we have got this really nice raised wall here that I think we can do some nice detailing to sort of backdrop onto this beach down here. I think that will look nice. And then with the community school as well, of course, I will be extending out the playground come the detailing time lapse. So let's just actually spin this round a little bit. And again, I think detailing around here can just tidy that up. And what we will do again is use one of our concrete roads to bring out a access point for the school like so. So we'll just adjust that over so it matches nicely into that path there. I think that that will work okay. It's very bumpy on the terrain, so let's just make sure that that's all level there. We'll lift this all up a little bit and have a bit more of a cliff feature here. With lots of rocks coming round onto the beach down this side. And then we've got plenty of room to extend out this playground at the front and a little bit of extra detailing as well in the back there. So I think that that will work nicely. I'm just checking where we have got a tram stop. So we've got one down there, so people could walk down to the school from that way. We should definitely connect up a walking path connection here to make sure that people get through nice and easily. So let's just go ahead and join that up there. So I think that all that is needed now in this area is a lot of detailing. So I'll jump into a time lapse and be right back. Okay, so down at the beach we have added in the restaurant pier here, a little volleyball court. We've also added a few little props on the beach, which are kind of hard to see in amongst the gravel, sand detail on our very cold boreal beach. I've got some deck chairs and some parasols. I've put out some canoes, a little hut with a life ring and a little chair for the lifeguard to, or the guy who's manning the canoes more like, to sit at and wait for the customers there. We have got an invisible path running across the beach as well, so hopefully people will start to take that from over this direction down towards the restaurant pier if they're wanting to get there. A couple of canoes on the water as well. I've added in a few more palms intermingled with some regular trees as well, so it looks less kind of tropical vibes, which is not exactly what we want for Auridon there. And then just a couple of little amusement park assets here, just a very, very small little boardwalk. So the little piggy train here and a couple of the games booths there. And then around the resort hotel itself, just a little bit of hedging and a couple of trees around the taxi stands at the front here. We have obviously finished off the pool area, so loads more deck chairs, a few additional gazebos lying around. A little tiki bar is what I was going for here with one of these little commercial assets. And then lots of planters with the palm trees dotted in around the pool, which I just thought helped to bring it all together and make it feel like more of a complex. Otherwise it was just 4 pools dumped in a tiled area together, so I think that helped. Obviously hedged it all in, and then we've put the flowers all the way round as well. And coming out to the back of the hotel, we have got a little playground in here, and then we come down to a sort of outdoor restaurant eating area. Picnic benches down that side, a couple of private booths. and some proper tables in there. Lots of rock and tree detailing all around there, around the path going up to the metro station as well. So I think that's all come together quite nicely. I've intermingled some of the sink-in alien rocks in with some of just the regular kind of rock assets we've got here. A little bit of detailing around the police station and the fire station here. So I've added in a couple of fire engine props, a few police cars in here, some nice barbed wire fencing asset as well, which I've just got from the workshop surrounding all of that police station there, which I just think helps to give a little something extra. Down by these houses, we've added in lots of trees and rocks along the waterfront here, another walking path as well to help people get around. And then I have added in this small little walking path, just expanded out with a bit of node controller in the middle there to give a little kind of viewing platform. So when we do fill in the other side of the waterfront here, there'll hopefully be some nice views for people to go out and look onto. And I did try to put a hangout marker on the end of this, but unfortunately it won't go over water, so that is not something that we can do. Little park in there for them as well. And then we have just added in this very small little marina here as well. Tiny bit of quay, just a few boats parked up along it. Again, using our life ring prop there, a couple of benches and some paths connecting that so people can walk up and down. Lots and lots of rocks and trees around this waterfront, bringing in that typical Auridon waterfront palette into the area as well. And exactly the same here, we've done another little marina area. A couple of piers sticking out of this one actually. And then actually we have put in one sailing boat just sailing away there, but permanently stuck in that position forever. Just a little more detailing in and around the car park here, a couple of benches, a few bushes and that sort of thing. Added in lots of fence up along this road as well to protect the citizens from this quite steep drop down the side here. And then on the other side, just a bits of surface painter, the odd little planter with some tables and chairs, that sort of thing. Did add in another commercial asset and a couple of parks along here. A little bit of fencing just to tidy things up, but nothing too drastic going on there at all. Have added in a little bus stop detailing section here, again with planters. There is a path that runs through the back there so that people can get round to this car park at the back of the complex. And then around the school where we've just had a massive fire and the trees have all burnt, I've just added in more of that typical Auridon palette, some trees around here. Until we know what's going to go down here, I think that suits fine. Lots of rock detailing to cover up some of that terrain jankiness. We have, as always, extended out the community school playground there as well, which I think fits in quite nicely. And lots more rock and tree detailing. And that theme is continued on down to the waterfront areas where we have got lots of rocks and reeds and that typical Auridon palette coming in here. And then we go down, I've just added in a few more boats into this water. Again, some more grass and reeds at the end to cover up where the terrain starts to get a little bit janky at the end of the piers. But all in all, I think this area is looking pretty good. And I did discover a new kind of little sample that I quite liked here as well, with these vanilla flat rocks with some of the rocks that we've used for all of the quays around Auridon, the small rocks. And they blend together in really quite nicely actually to form quite a nice banking along the back here. So I'm quite pleased with how that looks, as we're still getting little floods every now and then. And then if we just take a really quick little look at how the tram line is doing. So we haven't got any trams which are anywhere near full. There are people on every single tram though. So let's just drop down the number of vehicles to save on our traffic. We'll do that down to 7 vehicles. I think will be plenty for that. And we'll keep an eye on it and see how that goes. So for today, that is going to be it. But if you have enjoyed the episode, a like below is always really, really appreciated. And I do need name suggestions for this peninsula and for the waterfront area. If you've got different ones, drop them in the comments below and let me know, and we'll give it a name on the next episode. Any other suggestions for other downtown areas? Again, please drop them in the comments and do let me know. Love to take the community input on various different aspects of Auridon. But that is all from me for now. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you again next time. Bye bye.